Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How are you? Grade 9 today. Today, inshallah, we will take the inheritance. What is the meaning of inheritance? The characteristics or traits received from parents through genes. The traits that received from the parents through genes. So we will talk about the inheritance of one pair of contrasting traits. You remember the contrasting traits that Mendel did his experiments on them, the 7 traits about seed shape and seed color, pod shape, pod color, flower and flower position, and finally stem, height, tall or short. Today we will take only the inheritance of one pair, but after many sessions we will take inheritance of 2 pairs of contrasting traits. Okay, Mendel studied the inheritance of each pair of the 7 traits of the opposite traits separated by the following steps. Separated means he studied each pair of them separated from the other pairs of traits. For example, he studied the seed color of pea plant. Then he studied the seed shape of the pea plant. Then he studied the pod color of the pea plant, and so on. Today, inshallah, we will take example of these pairs of one pair of them, experiment of them, Mendel's experiment on the seed color of pea plant. Number 1, these are our steps here. Number 1, Mendel chose a pea plant that produces yellow seeds for several generations. He know that this plant produces yellow seeds for many generations, not for only generation, no. He makes sure that this plant produces yellow seeds for several generations, and choose other pea plant that produces green seeds for several generations. So he makes sure of this trait in this plant and make sure of this trait in this plant. Also, to make sure of the purity. What is the meaning of purity? To make sure that this plant produces only yellow seeds, not green seeds, and to make sure that this plant produces only green seeds, not yellow seeds. For each plant, he made self-pollination for these plants by himself. He made self-pollination for this plant and self-pollination for this plant for several generations, for many generations. What is the meaning of several generations? When the plant grow up, he take the seeds and plant them again and again and again and again for several generations each time to make sure that this plant produce only yellow seeds and this plant produce only green seeds. After that, he planted the seeds. After making sure, he take these seeds and this seed from each plant and planted the seeds like this. He planted here the yellow seeds and planted the green seeds. Okay, when flowers of the plant started to appear on the produced plants, he removed or cut the stamens from these flowers. This is called what? Stamen. What is the meaning of a stamen? The male reproductive part of the flower. He cut it from here and cut it from here, from each plant, from the plant, from yellow seeds and the plant produced from the green seeds. So number 4 here, when flowers started to appear on the produced plants, he removed or cut the stamens. What is the stamens? The male reproductive part of the plant before the anther becomes mature. What is the meaning of anther becomes mature? Where is the anther? This is the anther part. So here we have stamen. Stamen consists of filament, like stem here, and the anther, filament and the anther. So he cut all the stamen before this anther become mature. What is the meaning of becoming mature? Before producing pollen grains. Before producing pollens. What are the pollens? They are the gametes of the flower in the plant. The gametes of the flower in the plant that will travel to the stigma. What is the stigma? the female part of the flower. You remember this from the last session? This flower, we have here stigma. All of this is called the pistil. Pistil is the female reproductive part of the flower, and we have here all of this stamen consists from anther and filament. So he cut the stamens before the anther become mature. Become mature means producing pollens. Why? To avoid or to prevent the self-pollination. He didn't want that the pollens move to the stigma and to pollinate it. If it pollinates it, the fertilization will happen and the flower will produce new seeds. He don't want this now. He wanted to avoid the self-pollination, so he cut the stamen part to avoid the pollens go to the stigma before the anthers be mature. Understand this? So here he removed or cut the stamens from these flowers before the anthers become mature. Why? Give reason. To ensure, to make sure that the plant doesn't self-pollinate. He didn't want this. After that, Mendel made cross-pollination. So now, the flowers of yellow seed plants with pollen grains from green seed plants. What is the meaning of this? For example, when he cut the stamen from this plant from yellow seeds. This what you girls, yellow seeds. He made cross-pollination. Cross-pollination means what? Means like this. He bring the plant or the flower that he cut the stamens from it. So this plant now has only the female reproductive part, has only here the stigma, didn't have any anthers or stamens. Okay, for example, this now is plant from green seeds. He brought a flower has anthers, mature anthers and pollens from it, but from yellow seeds. Okay, he wanted to mix them, so he brought flower that appeared or produced from yellow seeds and make cross pollination. What did they make cross pollination? He make the pollens from the anthers travel to the stigma of the flower that produced from green seeds. And he made the opposite. He brought the flower with yellow, the flower that produced from yellow seeds, and pollinate it from another flower that produced from green seeds. Understand me till now? So after cutting the stamen here, he brought this flower and made cross-pollination for it from other flower with what? Produced from what? From green seeds. And the same thing he did it for this flower. So Mendel made cross-pollination for the flowers of yellow seeds plants with pollen grains from the green seed plant, and made cross-pollination for the flowers of the green seeds plants with pollen grains from yellow seed plants. Finally, after all of this, after made cross-pollination, he covered the stigma here. Why? Give reason. After he made cross-pollination, he covered the stigma of these plants. Why, girls? To prevent cross-pollination from other flowers on the same plant. He covered the stigma here, or cover this flower of this plant that he made the experiment on it, to prevent any cross-pollination from other flowers of the same plant. Okay, to observe what will happen on this plant, on this flower. After that, he wait that the plant to produce seeds and take these seeds and planted them. So after covering the stigma, to prevent cross-pollination from any other flowers, he wait till the fertilization happen and the flower produce seeds, and then take these seeds and planted them. Observation. What happened here? He observed that all the produced plants have yellow seeds, and the green colored seeds trait disappeared completely. So when he observed the two plants that he cut the stamen for them, these two plants that he cut the stamen for them and made cross-pollination for them, pollinate the flower from yellow seeds with green pollen grains from green flower, and the opposite, and then cover these flowers to avoid any cross-pollination and wait for producing new seeds, and take these new seeds from this flower and this flower. What did he observe? He observed that all produced plants, the first generation, the first offspring, the first babies, have yellow seeds, and the green colored seeds trait disappeared completely. Mendel let this first generation plants do self-pollination by themselves. Okay? He let the first generation made or do self-pollination by themselves. Then take again the seeds and planted the resulting seeds. Observation now. The produced plants, the second generation, the second offspring, its quarter is of green seeds and 3/4 are of yellow seeds. Okay, girls, this is the observation after planting the seeds of the first generation that produced from the first generation self-pollination. Okay, and we can summarize this in this figure. This is what seed, pure plant with yellow seeds, pure plant with green seeds, and these parents, we will make between them cross-pollination. This is the first generation here. All of the offspring will be yellow. Then we let them do self-pollination. So the second generation here will be like this. Quarter of the generation will be with green seeds and 3/4 are of yellow seeds. Okay, girls, this is the experiment that Mendel did it on each trait of the 7 traits, on contrasting traits that we talk about them at the last session. Okay, we will complete after that the results of Mendel's in the next session, inshallah. If you can't understand any point, please send me a message. Thank you.